Hello, my name is Demi Zaleask. I otherwise go by Demi Zaleaskova. And also I am the project lead for the Art of Windy City. So it is with great pleasure, pride, and honor that I get to bring this project to life. This documentary is a giant cross-collaboration between some of the most dedicated, hardworking, and passionate artists in my community. I am so inspired by these people in my community who continue to create. These are game changers of Lethbridge. Not everybody knows about us here in Lethbridge. We're a very small city in Southern Alberta, but if you've ever heard of Lethbridge, you've probably heard that we get extreme winds here. It is extremely windy and it is very strong on most days. On a good day, there's a slight breeze, but on most days, there's a very strong wind that carries us day in and day out. That force of nature has shaped our land and carried people through life and through time. The wind is so strong, and like the wind, I believe that our artists here in Lethbridge are extremely talented and extremely strong. When you bring different strengths together, when you put creatives in a room together, it's magical to see what can happen when you all come together to, give that human connection and share creation and work towards giving back to your community. And that's what this is all about. It's what game changers mean to me. And these are my game changers. These are the game changers of Southern Alberta, and these voices deserve to be heard and amplified and shared with the world. And so, OP, welcome to the Art of Windy City.
Started off with all the hard questions. I'm just kidding. No, man. So I go by the name Ollie X. People call me Ollie. And what I do is I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter. And occasionally I do some stuff on the visuals as well. So I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, the motherland, innit? Mother Africa. What brought me to Lethbridge? Like everybody else, man. Like I guess the school. I came here initially for school, and then I guess a few things led to another, and then 7, 8 years passed, and we're here.
Jast and musician, artist, I guess audio engineer, producer, kind of a bunch of these titles kind of orbit what I do. But mainly musician. I grew up here, born and raised. Spent a lot of my summers in BC, but mom's side's from there, but I grew up here.
My name is Jerry Jack. That's my artist name, my artist alias. My full name is Jeremiah Jack Morrison. My name is Bukapa in Blackfoot. That means Little Weasel. I'm named after my great grandpa, Joseph Croshoot, his Blackfoot name was Abach Sois, and that means weasel tail. So weasel is like a really sacred creature in our culture. So it was a really big honor to get. He's my great grandpa, and I got the name from my great grandma after he passed away, and it's like a piece of his name. And I was given the opportunity. It's like an opportunity to earn his full name, to earn the full title. It's not a title, but it's a privilege to have that name. So those are all my names. My artist profession. I'm kind of the jack of all trades because I am Jerry Jack, right? So I do all sorts of stuff, but I focus on music, hip hop, and digital art, media, visual arts. I do screen printing, silk screening, tie dyeing, spray paint, anything that gets the job done artistically. So 33 years old. Moved here when I was in kindergarten. I moved to Colehurst from Brandon, Manitoba, to be closer to my great grandma and my great grandpa, because they're elders, and they were coming up to be about close to around 100 years old-ish. There's no real definite records. When they're put into residential school, they're just they look 8, they look 10 type of thing. So there was no hard records on what their age actually was, but they were thought to be close to around 100 when they passed away. And so we moved out here so that I could be closer to them. My brothers and me and my mom and my dad wanted us to be closer to them. And my dad's from BC, Kitimat, Haisla Nation, and my mom's family is from here, from Brockett. My dad went to residential school when he was a little kid. He got taken away from his family, and his family got split up by the government and by the church and stuff like that. They all got, there's a lot of trauma, a lot of intergenerational trauma passed down. So I feel like my music is kind of my way of dealing with that, like coping with this, everything that's inside of me, not just trauma, but everything that's inside of me. But like a lot of the times, that's what I'm trying to overcome, is this feeling inside of me, this tension that I need to say something about what's happened and what's going on and where we are right now and how we ended up here and stuff like that. So I definitely owe a lot to my dad and my mom. My dad passed away a few years ago. He was like my best friend, #1 fan, music, and he gave us a great life. I never seen him drink once. He quit drinking as soon as I was born, basically, and he just gave us a great life. And we just grew up just loving even being broke. We didn't even know that we were broke at the time, but it made us all strong together. And so now we're all thriving artistically because we were given a chance to do that without having to have our family split apart, because I didn't have to go to residential school or anything like that. My dad did. That's just like one generation away. So I know in all these different ways I'm lucky. I'm really lucky to have had a dad and to have my mom and to have had the life that I got and stuff like that. So I feel very gracious for the existence that they gave me. So I like to thank the Creator lots and pray every day.
Hi, I'm Sedona. I live in Lethbridge. I have since 2013, and I moved from the west coast of British Columbia, where I was raised. I am a choreographer, a singer, a painter, a general artist. I like all the different styles of art and all the different mediums of art.
Jason Trotter, stencil artist, mural artist, just Joker. I'm originally from Fort Macleod, a small community just west of Lethbridge. And been in Lethbridge now for the last 22 years, and that's where I'm based out of. My preferred medium is like producing multi-layer stencils on expanded and perforated mesh. So, usually large scale, so like the murals, for example, that are on the walls in Lethbridge are made of that material. So the substrate is allowed through the image to give it kind of a ghost-like apparition, appearance. So, and because most of my subjects are historical in nature, it really blends well. Kind of a touch on the old, and then carrying through to the new.
Well, my name's Hamim Benbrik. I am a freestyle dancer, also a choreographer as well, and that's what I do. And I draw occasionally. I'm born in Ottawa, Ontario, and I came to Lethbridge in around 2009, and I lived here practically all my life growing up. I did go to BC for 2 years in, I think, 2011 and 2012. Came back in 2013. And from there on, I'm living in Lethbridge.
My name is Javier Escuela. On stage, I go by Javier Escuela. I make music, and I've been making music for a long time, and I love doing it. I was actually born and raised here in Lethbridge. So my family came from El Salvador in the 80s, like in 1985. After my older brother was born, they moved here, and then a few years later I was born. I moved around a lot though, like in between 19 and 27. I lived in probably like 4 or 5 different cities in Canada. Enjoyed it, loved it, traveled lots. I love seeing the world and stuff, but You know, I always ended up back here because my family's here, my mom and dad's here. And now I have a daughter, and you know, I intend to kind of keep it here. So the city is definitely like extremely important to me because I've been able to see other places. So I'm really happy with that.
Okay, this student Adoniku Anibuga. Hello, my name is Kennedy Owen Fox Zacharias. I also go by INNI as an artist name, or Kenny G or Kennedy, whatever people call me is cool. I'm from Ghana, so Kainai, from the Blood Tribe, a part of the Blackfoot Confederacy. And I was born in Cardston. I grew up coming back and forth between Saskatchewan and this area. I grew up 15 minutes north of Saskatoon, this little community. Shout out Osler. And I'd always come back for the Sundance. And so it was nice that I was able to stay like culturally connected to my community. But I felt like I needed to be like there. So after I graduated, I moved back here. And I've been here ever since and just going to school. Last year to this day, we made Indigigit. I wanted it to be an art collective, like that was the main goal. And so like to have our own fashion as Native people, because we do, and each tribe has their own. And like to have our own music, to have our own like art, visual art and paintings and these types of things. We started doing like fashion, like reselling gear, and it was so fun. And like, because we were all together, we all worked together at the emergency shelter in Standoff. And yeah, we were just together all the time. So we made this page to make a little bit of money on the side. And we kind of wanted to like try to bring our community into. So our goal at the start was like to give 10% of it back to like our community, like the Sage clan, or with like just to help like the homeless population kind of. And and it was super fun, and we started to make music afterwards. One thing about fashion though is fast fashion is definitely a problem for the environment. Like I love fashion, you know, but like it's a problem. And like when you reuse, like renew and recycle things, it's just like that's how we can make this kind of work. So like you don't always need like new things to be dope, you know what I mean? I don't know, just like all these arts, they can be connected, and Indigenous people have a space for them. And so yeah, bringing them together. And I guess how it happened was just like through that, you find people that want to do something, and then if you give them a platform, they'll work so hard to like just like, because everyone wants to create, you know, but they just need like sometimes being like, hey, like do this, you know, hold up. Yeah, okay, now I feel boss with these glasses on. Okay, yeah, and so just giving people, like when you tell people they're dope, and like when you don't crab in a bucket them, that's like that energy can like really spark things. And like just like how you do, like when you could bring artists in a room in a space, it's just like you can make some crazy stuff, like, you know. And you don't need to commoditize your art, like me and you were talking about, like a bird sings for free, you know. But like you need to make your art, and you need to help your community to market themselves, or to do certain things in a way where the rest of the world's doing it too. And why can't we? Because in my opinion, like we have some dope artists here, like some of the dopest. They just need help to like get to that next level, to market themselves, to like make these connections. And so like I think as leaders, like we can help these people in our community that way, like you're doing. Give them a stage, you know, kind of.
You know, we all struggle to try to find who we are in that, our identity, right? And trying to find a style that really represents who we are, our essence, I guess. And, yeah, and it's not easy. It's a struggle, and just I think, you know, it's something, if you're truly passionate about what you do, I think you just have to stick to your guns and persevere, and because it's not going to be easy. It's definitely a hard road, but if it's truly who you are, and yeah, you just gotta keep moving forward, and don't be deterred by, the obstacles that are going to be in your way, and there will be, right? But it's how you just be true to yourself, and you'll get through it.
What inspires me to create is all of the different elements of nature. I love looking at the layout of the land, the way that the grass moves in the wind, and the way that the wind soars through my ears. It's all just so inspiring, and it definitely adds different levels and layers to the different art styles that I create.
Yeah, I think about what I find inspiring about the people that I look up to, I try to remind myself that the musicians that inspired me were like just regular people, and not to idolize them, and they're often like influenced by similar experiences that I've lived in my life. So I try to express my art like knowing that like we're all regular people on some level, and we can all relate to like base emotions, and then like through sound you can find those emotions and relate to each other. And I guess that's kind of, I don't know, there's some kind of abstract basis in that for like what the way I'm like expressing what I'm doing, like just with that knowledge.
I try to express my art by movement. When I dance, that's when I really express my art. Or when I do draw, I express it with my art. So it really just depends on what state I am in, whether I'm sad, happy, angry. It will be expressed in each category.
Music in general has always been something that inspires me, because it's always been something that like connects people, and like connects people from different places and different walks and different schools of thought, you know what I mean? So we can all kind of come together and groove and just vibe to music. And I think that now newer generations are really starting to recognize that, especially with the advent of the internet. People are starting to realize that like there's so much music now, and you can listen to music all day, every day. You can have your headphones on, your earbuds. That wasn't a thing, you know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, if you had a Walkman or you had a CD, one of the little CD players, that was a big deal. Like you were the cool kid that like had the headphones you'd share with your friends, I remember we found one underneath the bridge, and that's what we used to use to freestyle battle when we were like 13, 14 years old. And we just put the headphones on. The other person couldn't hear the beat, but we'd just be freestyling with the beat in our ears. And then we'd switch headphones and we'd like battle each other, right? So it was like everything that was like a part of hip hop became, it branched out. Like it branched out in so many different ways, not only in my life, but I think in the world too. And like now it's become so much more than music. It's like it's a part of culture, and it is a culture. And I think it's been a really big and important tool to be able to reach out to communities and to places that I normally wouldn't be able to reach out. And I think that's the vibe that everybody gets when it comes to music and when it comes to hip hop, is like with the internet and with everything, everybody's connected now. Everybody's able to connect. So I think where I draw my inspiration from the most is kind of that entire embodiment of connection that music can bring. Because at the end of the day, like I'm a homebody. I like to be alone a lot. And as a human being, I need connection. You know what I mean? Like the cure to addiction is connection. The cure to depression, maybe not the cure, but something to alleviate depression and anxiety can be connection, right? Connection with another human. So I do see it as essential, and music has always been something that facilitated that. Having social anxiety before you go to a show, and then all of a sudden being okay with it because you were able to perform and connect with people, like that's a big plus. Even if you still have social anxiety at the end of the show, it's like you made it through it, and that music brought the best out of you. So
I definitely have spent time outside of the Lethbridge music community and have knowledge of other like music scenes, different cities and whatnot. But as far as Lethbridge goes, it's been like, the nexus of like a lot of my music experience. I think that a lot of the scenes in Lethbridge are like really small, and they're like relying on just a small collection of people to stay alive. And that's like, in a way, like it's their strength, but it's also like the weakness, right? Because like you have these people cultivating those scenes, but like without them, it's like they wouldn't be alive. That's kind of the struggle of a small city, and music scenes in a small city, right?
Yeah, and because it's a small city, there isn't those large networks of places that you can go where things are already set up. You almost have to start everything off from the ground, which is completely frustrating sometimes as a creative, because you're like, I want to just like run into the scene somebody else has created, and like, you know, I just blossom with it. I don't want to have to keep being the gardener and the weed man, and then, you know, like having to nurture it, and then I'm able to plant what I want to do. Like sometimes it can get a little challenging that way, where there isn't like those networks or like places or avenues or like a lot of outlets you can go to. Sometimes feel like it's kind of the same shows or the same places or the same people that keep going to some of these events sometimes. So you can, well, at least for me, there was a tendency to feel like stuck, where you're like, am I actually making any progress? Like I felt like the same amount of people that started going to the shows are still the same amount of people. Like, what the hell am I kind of doing here sometimes? And that is challenging as an artist, because, you know, no one wants to feel like they're staying in the same place. Every artist wants to, you know, completely doing new things and pushing. And in order to do that, you have to create it. And obviously, too, I would say a barrier is, I've touched on it, not enough avenues or not enough places that you can go. Like our downtown, like we need to do more to our bloody downtown, because if we lose our downtown, what's gonna happen to the rest of our community, right? Like it's such a hub of like things and places, but if you look at it, there isn't that many things being done with our downtown, right? So it's just like, I feel like, yeah, we should preserve it more and just show out more, support more, because this is why, you know, that feeling of the same people are going to these shows. If everyone was just to support their city, support their artists, I feel would be able to go a little bit further. It's pretty unfortunate. I'm just gonna say it outright too. There's a lot of like small racist, ignorant, unfortunate individuals, yeah. And it's so weird, because not everyone is like that, but you just still some people that are just coming to terms with the times, right? So that's some of the barriers. Thank God to some of our creative people, that's how we've been able to navigate them. And yeah, thank God to our university too for bringing like a diverse group of people, right? Because that, it's like a breath of fresh air that we do need. But the challenge too with that is they end up leaving most of the time. So yeah, it's like the city makes a few steps forward and then we end up going right back, because a whole new wave kind of comes in again. It's like hard to find that stability, because it's like a retirement population / a university population. Like, you know, those two generally don't mesh very well. So yeah, it's like, what is the city making events for, right? Like they also have to cater to their population. It's like, who are their population in a sense when they change so much? So
I wouldn't change the city, like, but we're talking about this, like how there's skid marks on like the Pride sidewalk. So someone's just like rolling their car on the sidewalk with the Pride. But like for me, that's like what Lethbridge almost represents. And there's art in that, like you gotta see like the art in that almost, in a sense, where like what's grind through this, like, yeah, it's like that, but that's not the narrative, you know? I don't know, like I think there's something so special here that like that term, like pressure makes diamonds, or no, is that what it is? Where it's kind of like that, where it's like, this is a tough place, like it's rugged, and there's a narrative on Lethbridge already, and like as like a Blackfoot person, there's narratives put on my people, and this is like Blackfoot territory, and the narrative might be a negative one here, but like I totally just refuse that narrative, and just like we could rewrite that narrative like super easy, and just like trying hard though every day, like just to do something, to even just go hang with your bro, make something, I don't know, like, because I see the land like we see it as like an entity, and it's animate, And so when you treat the city with love, like it gives you love back. You know what I'm saying? Because like when you treat something with love, you get the love back. And like it's the same thing when you start to look at the city as being like alive, then you can't help but like love it, and then it loves you back, because the city is the best city in Canada. It is, like, or not, like, don't tell me it's not, come on. Like, you know what I mean though? And so, yeah, like I just think we can change the narrative, like with how we think, like kind of, you know, we just gotta start thinking that way, I think, and then we'll be alright, I think, you know.
Well, we've all been kind of held hostage by the pandemic over like the past year, but coming out of it, I think, you know, people are wanting to become a little more active than they were even like a year ago and 2 years ago. I think things have changed. The world has changed and people change with it. So, and that's no different in the arts community as well. I think people are more hungry for creativeness than they've ever been. Right? So, yeah, so a year ago, I was just kind of on the sidelines, you know, just waiting for an opportunity to get back in the game sort of thing. I hate those, you know, sports cliches, but yeah, but it's true. I mean, I think with everyone, whether you're a musician or a visual artist, I think, you know, the time now is now, you know, so moving forward, I think you're going to see a lot of crazy things coming out, not only of Lethbridge artists and musicians, but just in general. So.
I think one of the things that the Lethbridge art community excels at is its ability to, you know, take on new forms and new shapes, because it's still early on. Like it's not a super defined, nuanced. Like there's not a lot to it yet. I think there is a lot in some regards, but it's not like huge cities which have tons of international influence, and it's pretty you know, it's very localized in a lot of ways, with, you know, a pretty small group of people trying to make all sorts of different things and come together, right? So yeah, I think we excel at you know, creating new spaces and new opportunities for people to try new things, because the city is kind of, I think, in my mind at least, still in its infancy artistically. Like there's just so much ground left it can cover, so much new spaces that can be developed, new ideas that can be deployed, and everybody's kind of down for that because it's such like a fresh, there's so much, you know, new life here, new ideas. Like artistically, right, I think we need more you know, more regular showcases of artists, and like impactful showcases. So like a lot of people will put on great events, and a lot of people will come, or a lot of people will put on like events that could just use a little bit more support from people to be just like that one step better. And I think a lot of it comes down to the artists, right? So I think it's the artist's responsibility to have impactful music and art so that people want to come out. So it's not just like the common complaint of, you know, there's not enough shows in Lethbridge, or there's not enough, like there is, but people either just don't want to go to the ones that are being put on because they're not excited by the artist, or there's not enough promotion on the ones that are great. So it's just like not necessarily anyone's fault. It's just like that there's all this opportunity for artists to develop their craft, for promoters to reach more people, for everyone to network and connect, and for, you know, a better scenes to develop in all sorts of genres and spaces, right? So I think that we need artists who hold themselves responsible to like be better and not become complacent. and we need you know, people in the promotion kind of realm of things to you know, curate really good vibes and spaces and connect people.
Right, so Game Changers, to me, the name itself means like a total redirection of the energy flow that we're currently facing. So recently we've been hit with a pandemic, and I think with that there's a challenge, but there's also an opportunity to redirect our lifestyles, our mindsets, and our creative works. It has allowed a lot of opportunities for us to experience opportunities that we would have never guessed would have come our way otherwise. When I think of Game Changers, I think of like pioneers, just innovators, people who create something out of nothing, and that something is meaningful for a bunch of different people.
What I just things have been game changers for me, I would say meeting fellow creators has been one of the biggest game changers for me. So by nature, I'm actually like super introverted. I like to, we're not going to talk about my likes and don't likes right now, but like I usually spend a lot of time like alone and, you know, usually just doing like what introverts do. And there are times when I felt like just completely given up. I was like, you know what, I'm done creating. Let me go make some money. You know what, let me go into business, yeah? I know I'm like capable of it, and then just forget this whole like creating, like why am I even doing this? I'm not making, like I didn't go into it for money, I didn't go into it for the fame and the accolades, but it's like I said, I haven't seen like any progression, or like why am I even doing this thing? I hate it, it sucks. Or, you know, you start ruminating as artists do. Then I meet a fellow creative and I go like, yeah, you know what, man, I was there like 2 months ago. I'm still there, like I'm just starting to get out that slump, and I'm like, what, where are you two? And then, you know, I meet a creative before we go on stage, I'm like, man, like I'm kind of nervous, like I'm not gonna lie. And he's like, yeah, bro, me too. I'm like, what? Yeah. And so it's just like seeing fellow creatives just kind of say like, I hear the experience you're going through, I've also kind of been through it, and they've just held me up when I've really just wanted to just kind of give up everything. And two, like even seeing when they have really successful shows or when they have really successful projects, it just brings nothing but joy for me. And I'm like, man, like you've also like made me want to start making stuff, right? Because like what you did was so cool that I'm like, yo, I gotta go back to the drawing pad. So yeah, that's those are game changers for me anyways, right?
If I can, I'm definitely going to try and learn how to do everything I can on my own at all points. And that's the game changer, is just learning that the thing holding you back sometimes isn't always going to be what resources there are. It's going to be how resourceful you are and what you can do with what you have. So I think that could be a big game changer if people realize that they can do everything if they just try.
When I was able to get a grant to go on tour in Europe, like that was a game changer, you know what I mean? I was able to see the world. And I think that that's a really important thing for artists to remember, especially here in Canada, that there's a lot of money, there's a lot of government money getting thrown around, and you know, people here can take advantage of it, especially in the Indigenous community here. I think it's really important for the Indigenous community to have a voice. You know, the Blackfoot Confederacy is the largest, you know, land of Indigenous people in Canada, or maybe North America. And I think that it's important for the people here, specifically the Blackfoot people here, to tell their story. So I see that as a game changer with everything that's happening with reconciliation here in Canada, failed reconciliation, if I might add. I think that it's important for Indigenous communities to be able to tell their stories, and for people to listen and really pay attention, because it's happening right now, and you can see what's happening. And sometimes I see on the internet, it's disgusting, the racism on the internet, and you know, and it needs to stop. And if it doesn't stop, obviously it probably won't. At the very least, we need to listen to the stories of the people that were here before us. Simple and plain. So I think the biggest game changer is going to be having Indigenous voices heard. And I think everybody that is involved in the art community here in town has that same idea, and if they don't, then they better catch up.
It is dope. That's like the diversity I'm talking about. Like, it's sick how it's just, everyone's just different. And like, that's why it's gonna work so well though for a community, because they talk about reconciliation, like we were talking about. They love to use that word. Oh, they love to use reconciliation, but like, there was no relationship to like reconcile. Do you feel me? So like this is reconciliation. Like when you're part of your community engaging from like all walks of life, like that's what it's about. It should even like transfer over to like, you talk about reconciliation that way, is like, that's what art can do, is like you tell your story, you rewrite your narrative, and that's how it can change. It can seep into your community, and it can seep into like public policies, like different things like that, like what your city council's doing. Like we can actually make a difference through like our art. We can change how our streets look. We can change how the people on the streets are taken care of, or like how they're monitored. And like, so art is like a real foundation for a lot of like social change. More Indigenous representation. And let me just say it first. Let me just like drop real quick. What else should I say? More black artists doing their thing. Afro artists, African American, Afro Canadian. More BIPOC, more LGBTQ, more of like the other, like that's what we need in this community. And like, to be honest, and more women, more like, because women will lead us forward, you know. But definitely like on that like just more of the other, and like, yeah, like, that's what's gonna lead us forward. Not only in this city, but like in the world. So yeah.